Under the primitive conditions of early human societies, how did people manage to stitch wounds? A woman picked up a few ants from the ground and skillfully guided them toward the edges of a wound. As the ants instinctively clamped their mandibles onto the wound, she quickly decapitated them, leaving their jaws in place like tiny natural staples to close the injury. A mother and her child huddled in a hidden pit, silently awaiting the father's rescue. Meanwhile, the father, battered and wounded, clung to a tree deep in the dense forest. He gritted his teeth, enduring excruciating pain, fearful of being discovered by the passing Mayan warriors. As their footsteps faded, a flicker of hope stirred within him. Perhaps he had escaped this deadly pursuit, but fate seemed unwilling to let him go. Unbeknownst to him, blood trickling from his wound had silently dripped onto one of the warriors, leaving an unintentional trail. Realizing they had lost their prey, the warriors retraced their steps. At the same time, the fugitive, despite his injuries, found himself locked in a life or death struggle with a wild beast. In this critical moment, one warrior attempted to flank him for an ambush, only to be bitten by a venomous snake lying in wait. The poison worked swiftly, claiming his life even as his comrades killed the serpent. The fugitive, on the brink of collapse, tore bark from an old tree, chewed it into a pulp, and applied it to his bleeding wound to ease the pain. As night fell, he leaned against a towering tree, desperate for a moment's rest. But before he could catch his breath, the enemy's footsteps closed in again, forcing him to flee once more. Elsewhere, a warrior spotted a blue marking on a tree. Before he could alert the others, a hidden snake struck, its venom spreading fatally through his body. Unyielding, the leader of the warriors ordered the pursuit to continue, showing no mercy even as fear gripped his men. Arrows rained down like a storm, and after endless running and desperate battles, the fugitive reached a steep cliff crowned by a majestic waterfall. With the warriors hot on his heels, he took a deep breath and leapt into the void. Miraculously, he landed safely on the other side. From across the gorge, he taunted the warriors with defiance, fueling the leader's wrath. In response, the leader coldly executed a subordinate who dared suggest a retreat. Terrified, the remaining warriors plunged into the raging river to keep up the chase. Struggling against the current, they climbed ashore, their resolve unbroken. Meanwhile, the fugitive, exhausted yet determined, sprinted deeper into the jungle. But fate had one last twist in store. Just as he thought he might escape, his foot sank into a hidden swamp, leaving him trapped in an even deadlier situation.